Well, we've had a busy morning all across North Carolina, but especially here in the Piedmont. Multiple tornado warnings came through the area. None of those have verified quite yet, but we saw quite a bit of rotation in some of these severe storms and the outer bands of Helene pushing through the area. The good news is the main threat is over. However, still could see an isolated tornado or two just within the next couple of hours. So we'll be keeping eyes on that. That's mainly for northern counties. Our weather impact alert continues until around 2 o'clock. So here just for another hour or so. Impacts being some heavy rain bands that are still making their way into the area. Still a little bit of wind, and heading into the afternoon, we're starting to see that tornado threat also die down as more counties are also being dropped from the tornado watch list. So just a reminder to make sure you're also keeping an eye to the sky, and of course watching the radar, making sure you're able to still receive alerts these next couple of hours. Just in the last 4 hours, we've received lots and lots of rain across the triad. As of right now in Greensboro, still some dark stormy clouds for right now, but we are starting to clear out these next couple of hours. So look at Tropical Storm Helene. Somehow still holding on to tropical storm strength. It's moving north at around 32 miles per hour. Winds are still sustained at around 45 miles per hour, but the pressure here is increasing, which means it is weakening. We're also seeing that the center right now is 30 miles southwest of Bryson City in North Carolina. And those were those outer bands. This was kind of the troublemaker right here, this outer band here from Helene, bringing in all of those tornadoes we saw, or tornado warnings, I should say, just in the past several hours. But that is now pushing north, taking that risk with it. Still some remnant isolated showers and storms could cause some trouble here in the triad. Lots and lots of flash flood warnings here for western portions of North Carolina and also into South Carolina. Even a couple of isolated showers starting to form right under that line here in the Piedmont. So if you're heading out for lunch, make sure you have the umbrella and the rain gear. And of course, some of these here could even start to rotate as well. So we'll be keeping eyes on that for the next couple of hours. Again, that threat is not completely gone for tornadoes, so we'll continue to keep eyes on it. This threat is also continuing to push north, these showers and storms that are now moving into Davidson, Guilford, and also Rockingham counties, and Stokes also in the next 30 minutes or so. Lots and lots of storm reports just in the last 12 hours. You can see anywhere from high wind to wind damage, and even some reports of a funnel cloud here in southeastern North Carolina. Let's zoom in here on the Piedmont just to kind of give you an idea of what people are reporting here in Greensboro. Numerous trees were reported down across the city of Greensboro. Gibsonville tree down, Clemens also another tree down. Lots of trees down across the area, even causing a little bit of problems for roadways as well. And some streets with the trees have fallen, not able to actually have people be able to drive through them. Other areas here in western North Carolina are more geared toward the flood concern, but a lot of places have flooded, especially roadways and especially some driveways, and some people have actually been evacuated. That wind advisory for today is going to continue for our area until around 6 o'clock. High wind warning for portions of northern western North Carolina. I look at wind gusts for right now, mainly sitting in the 20 to 30 mile per hour range, particularly 40 in Charlotte, 43 in Boone, 32 there in Hickory. But for us, that's slowly going to begin to die down these next couple of hours as that main wind with the system of Helene is starting to move toward the west and starting to push northwest away from our area, taking the threat with it, all that heavy rain, gusty winds, and of course that tornado threat as well. Wind gusts right now are currently sitting in the 20 to 30 mile per hour range, a little bit higher toward Charlotte and toward western North Carolina. Of course, we've seen wind gusts today though across the area in the 40s for the most part for us. 43 in Greensboro, 47 there in Burlington, 47 also in Winston-Salem, and that's just kind of the name of the game with some of these tropical systems that are able to move into the area. Not only are you factoring in the hurricane winds or tropical storm force winds in our case, but we're also factoring in the forward motion of the actual storm itself. So you can get a lot of storms that will produce this type of wind gusts even when they're not that strong, just because they're tropical and they're bringing in a lot of forward motion. 52 there in Hickory as a mile per hour wind gust, 53 in Jefferson. And here on the Futurecast, we're watching the system continue to push northwest, Heading into tonight, we are starting to clear out, not seeing any threats, looking like a pretty nice day into the day on Saturday. We're back into the middle and upper 70s. A couple more clouds into the day on Sunday with perhaps an isolated shower or two as that sort of low pressure system continues to weaken and pushes back through the Carolinas. We might see a little bit more cloud coverage as well as an isolated shower or two. A look at the future radar next couple of hours. Again, a couple of heavy rain bands are going to be possible in the next few hours, but for the most part, the threat is starting to die down because of those outer bands of Helene already pushing through the triad and continuing to lift north at pretty rapid speeds. So this is what the future radar could look like here in just the next several hours. Most of that moisture pushing north and away of the area as Helene continues to rotate counterclockwise and out of the region. A couple of isolated showers continuing into tonight, but for the most part, we're looking nice and dry, maybe even some clouds for the day on Saturday. For the most part, dry on Saturday as well before a little bit of a shower chance does begin to return on Sunday, especially by the afternoon and evening due to remnants of Helene starting to make their way back over the area after that push toward the northwest. Now, as for tropical impacts, again, this morning we've had several warnings across the area, from tornado warnings to as well as flood warnings across the region. We've seen in western North Carolina lots and lots of rainfall. Some areas measuring just in the last couple of days around 15 to 20 inches in the area. For us, it's just a matter of a couple of inches. This is what you can expect for impacts here. Flash flood risk is beginning to die down heading into this afternoon and especially by the evening as remnants of Helene continue to lift north. High winds, still could see a couple of gusty winds this afternoon, 20 to 40 miles per hour max. I would say 25 to 30 max. Actually, then we're starting to die down into tonight and especially by the upcoming weekend. Tornado threat after around 1 or 2 o'clock. Also beginning to die down just in the next couple of hours or so. Power outages can also continue to happen these next several hours as the ground is very, very saturated and it'll still be a little bit breezy. As for rainfall that we have seen, this is just yesterday. I kind of want to point this out across southeastern North Carolina or southeastern United States. Up around 4 inches in Columbia, South Carolina. 4.4 almost in Macon, Georgia, over 3.5 just yesterday in Savannah, Georgia, and in Asheville, western North Carolina, which is getting hit the hardest, I would say, flood-wise, around 6 inches yesterday in Asheville. Now let's add that to the total that we have seen so far for the day today in Asheville. 2.5 almost inches, almost 5 inches in Greenville. This is you can kind of see the track of Helene push right up through here, through Georgia into South Carolina, right near Augusta, near Greenville. This is where you saw the heaviest bands that were able to dump a lot of moisture in just a very short amount of time. Boone receiving almost 7 inches of rainfall today, and notice all across the area it kind of varies. If you were able to see some of those heavier bands and some of those outer bands of Helene, you were able to see some more rainfall across the area. So like Raleigh right here, just for example, almost at 1.5 inches versus Wilmington only just under half an inch, around half an inch in Fayetteville as well. Us in the triad around 3/4 of an inch. Just to kind of zoom in just a little bit more to show you what we're working with, western North Carolina really got the brunt of this storm in terms of moisture, around 6.66 inches there in Boone, 2.26 here in Hickory. Lots of western North Carolina counties are flooded, and you can see why just from the amount of rain we've received the last several days from that stalled front and also from the funnel of moisture into the area from Helene, as well as Helene itself actually making its way through the southeast. Rainfall today for us has ranged anywhere between 1/10 of an inch up to around 1 inch across the area. Rainfall forecast, again, we're starting to see numbers die down the next several hours. Could see a couple of 1/10 of an inch at most, but for the most part, those rain chances are starting to die down. So what you need to know heading into this afternoon, again, don't let your guard down completely as that isolated tornado threat is still in play, but gusty winds will remain heading into the afternoon. Heavy rain is mostly done, but there are still going to be a couple of showers left, so have the rain gear in the back seat and just make sure you're staying alert, especially for fallen trees and also power outages. As for your weekend forecast, we're back in the upper 70s and lower 80s, slim shower chances, a warm and pretty nice weekend. As for your 7-day forecast, we're pretty nice and dry the next couple of days. Unsettled at times, but it'll be isolated showers. We're back in the middle and upper 70s. Overnight lows in the lower and middle 60s. Pretty nice and average for this time of year. Normally we're right in the deep 70s, so right on par heading into next week. Lots of peaks of sunshine, and we're back into the middle 70s by the middle of next week.